That took me a year, but I think I got it.
Awesome. Coming your back up.
Got my backup.
Yep. Cool.
6 o'clock. All right, call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. And start the roll call.
Racine present. Yeah, say your name or last name.
Erica.
Are you here?
Yes. Jan present. Helen present. Donna present.
I got present.
And Hillsman present. All right, nobody out there. It's one down. All right, so first on the list, we've got the meeting minutes from February 10th to approve. If you guys need more time to go through those.
I don't remember back. that far back.
I pretty much feel the same way. Like I said, it feels like it's been a year ago, not
Yeah,
a month or so, 2 months ago. But this is all the public.
Unless you're gonna fact check every one of these numbers, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 17th, 2026.
thank you.
A second.
Second by Elena. And this is the 2:10 minutes. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Racine, aye.
I have to abstain. I wasn't here.
You weren't here? All right,
You don't have to abstain from that, you can still vote on it. Just a matter of process.
we'll put Jim as a no vote. We'll put Eric and Craig as a no vote. Everybody else is
All practicing abstinence.
all practicing abstinence. All right, that's 2 down. February 18th meeting minutes. That one's a little
Shorty.
shorter, yep.
I'll make a motion to approve, February 18th.
Second.
So motion by Leo, second by Jim. Any questions, discussions, edits? 2:18:26 minutes. Again, all in favor?
Aye.
And any abstaining? Alright, cool. Now the fun part. I need a budget committee chair.
I make a motion to nominate
Second.
Scott.
Wait, I thought that only happened if I wasn't here.
Well, you have it both ways.
Alright,
The full board.
so I'm
We're sitting in the right spot.
damned if I do, damned if I don't.
Well, you're not getting any of the other chairs.
Well, thank you. That was Leo and Mike. Any volunteers? Alright,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That brings us,
Congratulations on your victory.
thank you,
Yep, thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
At least this one wasn't unopposed technically, Alright, so then, vice chair. I'd like to nominate Elena.
I second.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This is the fastest meeting of the year. I don't think we need to assign any of the duties, it's just on the list, Still gonna just keep a manual running count of the votes.
Maybe I should take that over. Take one little thing off your plate.
You know, that is a wonderful suggestion, starting now or
I kinda
starting
do
next
it-
meeting?
I do it anyway.
Do you? Alright,
Try to.
well, I'm gonna finish, since this is in my chicken scratch, but starting next meeting, you get these sheets. Thank you
Awesome.
very much.
Yes, one
You've
small.
lightened my load immensely. Alright, so any other duties? New secretary. Okay, next on the list is just a reminder and, well, I guess to inform our new members. RSA 91A, so when we send an email out to the committee, don't hit reply all. If you have a question for the chair, just hit reply if you don't know that. Elsewise, it can be viewed as a unpublicized meeting and bad things can happen. So, so any group emails, just hit reply if you have a question for me. Alright. Okay, so next we have, I just wanna, officially recognize the updated process sheets. So we talked about the changes to that at our last meeting. I noted, not only updated the document, but noted the changes on the first page under 4726, what got changed, kind of following the format that was here beforehand. So if you need a minute to look that over, if you see something I screwed up, otherwise I would just like to formally adopt that.
So you did 3 updates?
Nope, actually, turn the page. Oh, which page you looking at? Oh, sorry. Actually,
Oh,
starting with 4726.
yeah, that's all, but you had it all right here.
Yeah, so this was the previous stuff.
Right, right.
Yeah, and then on the next page, it just continues. So that was everything we talked about at the
Right.
last meeting that we thought we should change. So are there any questions on that? This is just,
Page eight? No, what page are we on?
this, so we're, this book here, yeah, so, so the updates are on page 3 and 4.
Okay.
So this is just kind of a guideline that the budget committee used to go through the year, key dates and things that we should be addressing.
Okay.
So at the end of last budget season, we discussed any improvements or changes that we wanted to make. So some of the things that we put in writing was, actually changing the date when we made improvements. Previously, they did at the beginning, which didn't seem to make sense because we had new members. We figured it made more sense at the end of a budget year. We've been through the process, and that would be a more appropriate time to make recommendations. One of the things we had adapted last year that wasn't in this yet was, on non-meeting months, still sending the budget committee, monthly budget actuals, so they can review it, which we're gonna go through. That was one of Mike's ideas. We also, agreed to get, sub-account information for the 4 biggest line items in the operating budget, to look over, and we'll talk more about the budget to actual in a minute. But that way we can, look and see if there's anything that stands out as odd, and to give us a better idea of, how some of the money is spent on those bigger, budget, on some of those bigger budgets, so that when we come into budget season, we just have a better understanding of what we're talking about and what's going on. So if there's no questions,
Question.
yes, sir.
Sub-accounts.
Yep,
So one of the things in the statute says that the budget committee is entitled to have the sub-account information. So one of the things I would like to see is at least initially all the sub-accounts, and not to be difficult or really just diving into just find fault or anything, but some of the detail leads to questions. Like years ago, when I'd see something show up in the sub-account, I would know who we're doing business with. It'd give me a little tidbit of it and I'd be like, I know who that is, and move on. Now I looked at the recent one you sent out, and I'm looking in there and I'm like, I don't know who we're doing business with on that sub-account. And so I'm figuring all the sub-accounts have probably changed considerably since I was, on the board of selectmen or whatever. So just to kind of get familiar with whomever we're dealing with business-wise,
okay,
then we would know if if that vendor shows up in a sub-account that's like, that doesn't belong, like, we're more apt to.
Somewhere odd, yep, okay,
So you're looking more like this sheet?
Like a vendor
Yeah,
list.
right, they're the sub-accounts, so when
Right.
you do the QuickBooks in there, you get kind of you get the total.
Yeah, you get all the
Get a little
contract.
more
Yeah.
detail,
so you
yeah.
want all the sub-accounts for the first quarter?
Yeah, you know, just to try and acclimate a little as to who our vendors are, because I think, and I don't wanna be too critical here, but the problem I had at the end of the year, right into January, when we got the last budget to actual for last year. The fire chief was doing IT work, and he cleaned that up, cause all year we had problems with the budget to actual, and they just weren't accurate, I kept them all, and it just was not good. But the last thing that came out of the office showed a lapsing amount of money of $371,000. The cleaned up sheet shows just under $141,000. $230,000 unaccounted for tax dollars, 10% of the operating budget. And I have never seen anything like that before, so for me, I'd like to try to fill in the
absolutely.
holes, so that as we go through the season, then if we're identifying this errors being made somewhere, maybe we can kind of get ahead of this, so you know, it doesn't snowball to the end of the year, and we're just like,
Okay.
we don't even, we're setting a budget for numbers that aren't, you know.
Yep.
it's not- I know I'm kind of
Okay, so,
that guy, but.
no, so does the committee wanna see that every time we issue one of these, or just one for the first quarter to give you an idea, and we still focus on the 4 biggest expenses?
I'm happy to see something in the short term and just see how that pans out for people, if it gives any insight, or we start seeing some discrepancies, and maybe that can dictate whether we wanna see it
Okay.
or not. I'd just like to see something.
It's gonna be a lot better this year.
Well,
I suppose it doesn't really have to go in the process document because we're entitled to it by statute, right?
right,
So
oh, yeah, yeah.
can request it
RSA
anytime.
32 for new members is a good read.
Yep, I think,
A good read.
it's a good read.
That'll get you spinning.
I think I indicated that to you guys when I emailed you, but if I didn't, RSA 32 is all about budget committee stuff, and then I gave you guys a copy of the budgeting and budget law, right? The PDF,
Yeah.
that I got from a class I took last year, so,
Did you pass?
did I pass? I did. I paid my $20, I think that gets me an A.
That's, yeah.
I think that's how those classes work. Alright, then, I will get a copy of sub-accounts for all accounts for the first quarter and send them out to the committee.
Yeah, I just like to get kind of familiar with.
Nope, that makes sense, and again, part of doing this even on the larger, for our larger expenditures is so we have a better idea of where the money's going, and so we can look for discrepancies and help us come actual budget time. So that being said, I'd like to just, make a motion to approve the budget committee, the updated budget committee process instructions. Going once,
I'll second.
thank you. Okay, any further discussion, other than the update Mike recommended? Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright. And I already got the contact sheet updated, and I'll get that information out to everybody. Start the joint meeting schedule, that'll, fall on me and our town administrator. And I'll get you guys an update on that at the next meeting. I do think if our select board chair agrees that, we should probably maybe start that a week earlier than we did last year. Because we ended up calling a special meeting to kind of go through everything, and just to give us a little more room. And then, well, actually, while we have everybody here, so we had some discussion about having more joint meetings, for some of the smaller budget items. It was recommended.
Versus trying to pile it all in one.
And well, instead of doing it in 2 meetings, so like any budget under $10,000, just have them do a joint meeting.
Okay.
I still think the bigger budgets like fire, admin,
police and all
police
that.
should still be in 2 meetings, so we have time to digest it and come back with more questions.
Agree.
So does that sound like a good cap when we put the book schedule together? Anything under 10 grand, we do as a joint meeting,
Joint meeting, meaning,
select board and budget committee at once, so we don't have to get these people in here twice for $2,000 budgets.
So like the forest ranger or forest manager, you know.
Yeah,
would be-
so any small budget, and any budget under 10 grand, if you think there's a different number that's more appropriate. Just trying to be respectful of their time too, you know, like the Heritage Commission and like why you're having them in here twice for a $1,000 budget.
I'm typically uncomfortable with merging the selectmen and the budget committee together in meetings. And why is basically that the budget committee functions separately for the most. When we bring in the nonprofits, that was something we did just for that exact reason.
Yeah, because they're traveling in and everything else.
Yeah, and they're not part of the system.
But I would still have to run it by the other two selectmen to see if it was, they would agree with it.
Okay, I know there was discussion about it, but alright, then we'll just table that for now and you guys let me know and,
But, look, Mike, go ahead. Yeah.
no, I'm sorry.
So my concern was that it's a little distracting and it's breaking the meeting up, and you guys are having a meeting here. And for the most, I guess I was used to a process where all that took place, the selectmen dealt with all department heads, everybody ironed everything out, and then when they came in, it was kind of a settled matter. And it seemed like we were in the process a lot more than I think we should have been in that process. So I think for most of those things, like you say, under $10,000, those aren't usually the big sticking points.
Right.
So I would leave it and feel comfortable to the selectmen being able to work those things out, so when they came in, unless we need somebody to come in and discuss something, I wouldn't bother them, but, I mean, certainly,
The budget chair, the budget chair can attend those meetings.
Yeah, I'm usually at all those meetings anyway. So your suggestion is we keep
Same process.
same process, but for smaller budgets, we don't have the chair come in?
well, I mean, I'd leave it open to the chairs if they wanna come in and defend their budget, and if we start hacking the heck out of them, then they would probably wanna come in. I think for the most,
Cause we did table at least one budget last year, cause I think it was Rebecca, wasn't available.
Right.
And that's what I would consider a small budget. I don't know what her actual number is, but.
well, it's.
I think it's probably over 10.
Is it?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
well over.
Yeah, but she's all done in June, so there's gonna be a new.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, like to Mike's point, if they,
So I'll.
I agree with Mike, I think, you know, we need to, sometimes when we have the chair comes in, you know, whoever's representing
Yeah.
whatever committee, sometimes we have questions, we wanna, okay, why is this, why is that? We should iron it out ahead of time with the selectmen, not with the budget committee.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, well, you're in big business companies, yeah, and department heads, you know, you hash out things with everybody.
You've
And
done the
then
same
you
thing.
sit down in a smaller meeting with, you know, other department heads, and then it's like, well, wait a minute, because this overlaps in my department, I don't understand, and it's like, all right, I'll get that individual in, and we'll do process and figure it out.
Okay, then
I
we'll
was
leave
gonna say,
it
like,
as
we
is.
just
Yeah, well,
beat
okay.
up the planning board a
Okay,
little
but this was a
less.
suggestion that came up at a selectmen's meeting last year.
I'll still discuss it with the other two selectmen
Okay,
and see what their feelings are, but
okay, so
I
just,
think it's your authority basis in your meeting to hand, I'm just trying to.
I think, I know one selectman will agree with you on that one.
I
I
just,
think
I'm
we,
sorry.
sorry, I think we less need like a presentation from them than be aware, we're gonna review what the selectmen gave us. And if you wanna be here to speak for yourself,
Agree.
you should be, but take the risk if you don't.
Yeah.
They don't need to really present it twice because it's,
No, it's mostly so they
You're
can
presenting a budget
so they
to
can
us.
answer questions.
Yeah, you're reviewing the selectmen's budget and you're gonna, micromanage whatever you gotta do to it,
Okay, then we'll,
so.
And then, you know, a bunch of people will probably get a pass, and then we're gonna say, I don't understand why this $50 is there, and drag somebody in, but.
Yeah.
okay.
I think that's more the problem.
So for Craig and Eric, so just if you don't know, once we get into budget season, each department head will submit a budget. They meet with the select board first. And then a week later, usually they'll meet with the budget committee and we just ask whatever questions and, either approve or make changes to the budget as a committee. So what we're discussing was trying to eliminate some of the overlap for the smaller budgets. But it seems like we're just gonna keep it the way it was. Alright. But either way, talk to the select board, but either way, I'll
I'll let you know.
sometime in the near future, I'll start working with the admin to get the schedule together, but I do think we should start maybe like the third week of September, just to give us an extra week in case we need to have another meeting, or we got some late stuff in last year that kinda jacked up the works and. Okay,
No problem.
alright, so then, next we got the B to A.
BDA, or you got contact sheets?
I already did the contact sheet, I did that as, Eric and,
Okay.
Craig came in, so I'm gonna, I have their information, I'll scan that in and share it with the committee. So, yeah, so one of them, so the, so this is basically the current operating budget for the town, what the departments spend, the sub-account numbers on there. And what gets applied to that particular budget, and then a percentage of the budget used year to date. Generally speaking, most budgets should run roughly 25% a quarter. There are gonna be outliers,
Has a foresight.
but if you're looking through this and something might be running hot, like our IT contract that Jim pointed out. Oh no, that one's not running hot, sorry, salary IT. And you have questions about that, let me know what your question is, and I'll get together with the finance administrator and try to get an answer. Sometimes it's accounting errors, as I found some looking through the details. Sometimes there's a reason for it.
What happened here?
Yeah, it's pretty messed up sheets here.
This is the way they came off, for some reason, what used to be,
I mean, on the next page over, I mean, it has what's budgeted and everything else. See what I'm talking about? So you got this, but you have nothing here.
yeah, I don't know.
So you have on the page 2, you have Governor Wentworth Regional School District above executive. And then you have a bunch of like
Yes.
25, 26, and then there's a bunch of like numbers running together down further.
So what used to be at the back of the report came out on the top of the report as it was printed by our administrator.
Caitlin did this, or?
No,
Michelle?
Michelle. So we're trying to get this cleaner, trying to get it to just the operating budget, which we talked about previously, and not some of this other stuff necessarily.
Yeah, in the past, it used to be the last
This used to be
page.
this used to be the last page, and somehow it ends up on the front. Part of what I believe has jacked this up is if you look at, on page 3, for example, or even, well, just page 3, for example, 415001, finance administrator. Like I said, somebody with good intentions thought it would make sense to put 26 in front of all these numbers. All it did was jack up the way they print, and it wasn't really necessary ultimately, because the system date gives you what you're looking for.
So 26 is supposed to be 2027.
Yeah, so the actual accounting number, for finance administrators is 4150-01. We have 26s in front of all this stuff, and I think that's what
So
jacked.
they only have so many characters they can put in that.
Well, I think they print in numerical order, which is why the ones without the 26 ended up on the first page.
I got it.
So I talked to our finance administrator about that, she wants to see if that can be fixed without breaking things. So hopefully we will get a more easy to follow, so pretty much ignore the 26 in front of those numbers. The actual account numbers follow that.
So people understand, most of these that either have a 26 or a 25 in front of them, it's the 4 digits after that, that's the actual account. And then there's typically a dash if there's a 5th number,
Dash 02, dash 03, dash 01.
Yep,
or, you know, it could have an O, right? But these don't seem to even have a 0 there. 4150 should have been finance administration, and dash one. Stand by, we'll see if this is,
We're gonna try to fix it.
yeah.
But again, if you see, like I said, generally speaking, each department account should run at roughly 25% per quarter. There are gonna be outliers, and that's the total budget. But if you see something that you have a question about, it's running hot, it's running low, and you want more information, we can get more information. It's possible that there was a mistake. For example, on the detail sheets I sent you, I apologize for the really small print. I kind of cut and pasted that from what was sent to me because some of this had payroll information in it, which just kind of cluttered up the whole thing. And it was mostly the expenditures that I thought we wanted to look at. But on the second page of what you have stapled together, there's not actually a page number on there. So if you look under equipment, so this is 4220. Yeah, 4220 fire department. If you look under the equipment, there was a credit card purchase and the memo says IT website, and I talked to the finance administrator about that and asked why it wasn't under IT. And she said she screwed up and she's gonna fix that. So one of the reasons we're doing this is so we can find stuff that's been posted to the wrong account, so we can get it cleaned up, because it helps us do our job. Or better understand, what the budgets look like at the end of the year, and, another thing, and perhaps our select board chair can provide some clarity on this. Right under that IT website, it says Motorola. I'm sorry, no, that one's fine, that was equipment.
Right.
Under radio maintenance, there's 2 credit card charges, which says Bank of New Hampshire. One was for new cables, and the other was.
It's probably through the fire department or something.
Yep, but basically, my discussion with the finance administrator was that this was equipment and not maintenance, and it should be under equipment. She didn't wanna move it without somebody else okaying it.
Okay,
So I don't know if that comes from the select board, if that comes from the fire chief.
I'll talk to him about it then.
So I wanna back up just a little bit here before we get into the nitty gritty. So I'm looking at this thing and it says, budget, and on some categories, it has a number in the budget line item. And I'm on page 5 now, and I've got, say, under heating fuel, whatever, it's all zeros, right?
Oh, you're on the actual budget sheet.
Then on the budget versus actual, then in the over budget line, it's got filled out all kinds of stuff that,
Well, we have was it $16,000 total for the budget? For
yeah,
heating? Yeah, so we don't individually,
don't put those in there.
individually for each building, because, you know, you just take the total sum of all the 5 buildings, is it 5?
Okay, so that's what happened to the numbers then, because we're into the pennies, on this stuff. Like, you know, for the budget line, it's divided down to beyond the decimal.
Cause that's always been like that all years, even when you were on. Yeah, we never individually assign it to each building.
What do you
I mean,
mean
as
it's
far
down
as,
to the pennies?
Okay, so if I go back to, the last budget from last year that was printed on
Yeah.
January 21st, 26th. And it has January through December of 25. Okay, so I'm showing, under expenses in executive, under the line where it says a date, it has all those numbers in there that's broken down to the pennies. And under budget, it has no pennies broken down.
well, go back to the heating, you were talking about the heating fuel.
Yeah, well, maybe I was getting sidetracked with the non-filled in things that would come
Yeah,
under all those.
and there's a couple categories like that,
All the utilities.
yeah,
like that.
electricity,
I just don't remember them being in pennies when they were budgeted.
I'm not following you by the in pennies, you
They're
mean
not.
the 18 cents?
Yeah, maybe,
Well,
Okay.
you got 16,000, we spent $8,648.82, so what we have remaining is 7,351.18.
Yeah, once you spend it, yeah.
Yeah, we've been,
the,
yeah, that's what we,
the actual fuel budget's 16,000.
Right.
No pennies
for all the buildings.
for all the buildings. What's been
So
spent
it's
is,
an over budget, alright,
yep,
I'm tracking now.
yeah, I'm pretty sure
Hiatus,
legal's handled the same way. It comes out of, we have one legal budget, but.
Yeah, I think it was, what was it, 30, 40,000
Yeah,
dollars,
but the
but
departments are under it, but ultimately it just comes out of legal regardless of who uses it.
they're broken down for each department.
Okay, yeah.
Except like the planning board has their own legal budget,
No, the town.
the town itself.
Yeah, I was just trying to help like understand that a little bit more.
Yeah, like Rebecca, she has the contact legal, it comes underneath that legal.
Yep.
that Line item.
But while you're at it, another thing, oh, actually, I guess that one counted as maintenance. It was the vinyl decals for engine one and engine three.
Yeah. So you want the radio maintenance,
Those were, yeah, so that was two of the things that, well, three, yeah, that was one of the things I looked at. So the Motorola thing, cause they don't have a radio account anymore, now it's radio maintenance. But so that did, I figured counted as equipment,
yeah, I'll take a look at
but these two things here,
it, highlighted.
yep, and I have also asked, again, that more detail, that's something we put in the memo, cause it's hard to tell what things are.
What do you mean more details as far as?
Well, especially with the credit card charges, like up here, she did a great job, Amazon and whatever that is, IT website, but then you get some other credit card charges, there's no detail, so it's like, well, what's this?
Could be anything.
Right, and it's hard to tell if something's where it's supposed to be, so then I gotta have her actually pull the invoice, pull the receipts to figure out what it is. And,
She doesn't have it in QuickBooks that actually,
well, she has to enter it into the memo,
And she doesn't
and she's
do
not
that.
consistent with it.
yeah, I see that. Like she just puts Amazon, that's it.
Yeah, but another, so I actually had to make copies of a couple of those receipts where I thought it was equipment and not maintenance. And I think potentially part of the confusion is there's not enough detail there per the town's policy that should have which account number it's gonna go to
Yeah.
on the invoice.
And usually like JT is, this is fire.
Yep, so fire,
JT usually reviews it to make sure, and what the account wants to charge it to. He's supposed to be doing that.
right, but I think they're, because he just wrote fire radio, like, is that radio repair, is it a new radio that goes under new equipment, there could be some, right, cause this is
Yep.
put under maintenance, and I felt like it was equipment.
He's not doing detail now.
Right, and according to the purchasing policy, it's supposed to have that detail on there.
Right. Okay.
then
You want
that might-
me,
that might-
can I keep this in?
Yeah, that might help eliminate confusion.
Yep. And the big spenders are the fire department and the police, so.
Yeah, the police has barely spent anything when I looked at theirs. But anyway, so that's just some of the stuff in the details. If you see something unusual or you want more clarity on something, and again, it helps. I think the fire chief spent more money on the dog so far than he did anything else in fuel.
I don't know what.
On the dog, couple of vet visits. I was like.
The fire chief?
No, the police.
Oh, I was gonna say.
No, yeah, no.
We didn't get the dog after all.
No.
No,
I
no.
know.
He
I-
I thought he did get a dog. JT. Yeah, but on his own personal
Doesn't
account.
already have a dog?
So should we be
That little. Call that a dog?
Well,
So, do you guys, Craig or Eric, do you have any questions about that?
Hope he's not watching.
It'll make more sense as we go on, hopefully.
Yeah.
But if you have any questions.
less, sometimes more.
Sometimes less, sometimes more for sure.
I'm just trying to soak it all in.
Yeah, it'll take a little time, but if you have any questions, just send me an email, send me a text. Come on over with beer,
I guess one of the things I'm looking to see this year on the revenue side, and just to get some understanding, 'cause I don't know how it's being recorded, but like building permits, say, right? Like Rebecca would get a building permit. Some of the revenues that came in, those weren't being, on the report, weren't being attributed for, like, you guys have put on one thing, $4,000 or something for building permits or licensing and fees or some crap. And it comes out at $25 is what we actually received. Another account had like $5,000, the rates, you know, they're sandwiched together for some other stuff that's, should have a category, and it was a goose egg. So it's like, okay, then we're getting down into some miscellaneous or money from other departments, and we're seeing like $41,000, and it's like, what the hell is making all this up? Because it just doesn't seem like we're capturing.
So you want like more details like this?
Well, I'm just trying to, I'm kind of thinking out loud for my own peace of mind. It's like, how is that getting recorded other places? It's really not probably so much our business, but it's,
Well, I can tell you, I mean, with our new treasurer, Chris,
yeah.
so he's gonna be providing a quarterly account,
I was gonna be asking for that, yeah.
quarterly, what do you call it, balance sheet, basically
treasury.
showing where all the money is coming in, what's coming in and all that stuff, what we have and what, you know.
Is that gonna be a reconciliation too? That, so all the officers are. Good.
So I'm gonna take a look at that report and then we can, you know, if you want more of a breakdown, we can probably get that from him.
So I guess for, it's kind of towards the end of the process when we're trying to see where monies are coming in, unassigned fund balance, all that fun stuff. The recording part that comes out in our audit or on the 535 is kind of what I was looking at, is like, this what we're projecting on the 434 and what really we got in on the 535 for actual. It doesn't, it seems like we're missing something that used to be a little tighter before. And since we're kind of not doing the greatest job tracking of late, and we're trying to tighten it up, I'm just kind of, I guess I'm throwing this more your way.
No, I got it, I'm getting to it. I hear ya.
Well, no, it's just.
So you'd like to
You
see
know,
some,
I understand where you come from,
Yeah.
I do.
I'm not trying to
But,
be
you know,
difficult.
with Chris on board and stuff like that, he's very knowledgeable and all that stuff, so, you know, he's been to me, come to me a couple times, I'm like, what do you need for information, what do you need, you know, so.
And I'm not
Get it.
saying that that's, it may not even be internal. The auditors might come in and an auditor might just take all kinds of stuff instead of going, oh, that was a license here, a building permit there. It just lump them all into some other big catch-all.
Probably that's what they do too.
It very, that's, I'm trying to figure out where
So-
stuff.
so if we could
Comes
get
and goes.
from the treasurer like quarterly reconciliations until we get the audit done, would that?
Well, yeah, the audit is kind of a separate, yeah, but
Yeah.
we'd like to see where we.
Well, we don't wanna wait till
Or at least
October or
being able to
whatever.
reflect back on a monthly, 'cause
Right.
that can really tell you a lot.
Yeah.
I assume,
Well,
I
mean,
assume he's doing reconciliations and all that
Yes,
stuff.
oh yeah, he's doing all that,
Good,
yeah. Yeah, so,
okay, so we can request.
yeah, the
Quarterly?
big money that's coming in is from the clerk's office,
Right.
as far as, you know,
Auto
registrations,
reg is
taxes,
the,
those are your two big accounts.
Actually, I meant to ask our clerk about that, but maybe you know, did he,
That's cool.
what's that? Can I give you homework to take home?
I don't care, write it down.
Has the money that came in from the sales of the properties been taken off the books? Cause I asked for a current delinquency report, and the number was way higher than I expected it to be.
Sales, are you talking about the auction?
Yeah, as
What
I've
do you mean
been,
taken
I had taken off of her delinquency numbers.
Yes.
Okay.
The deeds are all been,
that's the deeds
all
have
been-
been taken.
it's all been
It no
settled?
longer keeps. billing.
yeah, they all been, transferred over to the new property owners
Okay.
and all that stuff, so that's all off the books,
Yeah, it goes on a different line on the balance sheet,
Okay,
so.
yeah.
so, yeah, so I did,
So, and I
As
can
in-
let you know right now, there's notices going out for people in arrears.
yeah, so I expected the arrears number to be much lower after
No,
the sales, and it's actually
Yeah.
what it's traditionally been, and I was surprised.
a little higher.
So I wanted to make, it was actually a little higher, roughly, around 600,000. I think it was the number I saw.
How could it be higher?
What's that?
How could it be higher than the last time?
Well, that's what made me think maybe we haven't taken the sales of the properties
No,
off
we
the
did,
books
but
yet,
there's,
so we did.
there's, I think there's 78 properties.
But taxes were due in January, so like the amount of people
Yeah,
behind,
yeah, but it's,
the dollar amount behind can't.
2023,
It's 4 years, 3 years.
3 years.
Yes, he builds for 3 years.
So basically, you're looking at,
And then
Oh,
when it
because
goes 4 years and
some of-
beyond,
you
it
mean
goes
ones
into
that have
that
gone
other
to
pile.
lean.
Right,
In the
There-
balance.
what's that?
they might go into lean if they don't,
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've always.
That number would change. The ones
Yeah.
that've gone to lean.
Yeah, but we've always kind of looked at just to see trends, especially when we're trying to figure out how much we wanna keep in the unassigned fund balance into the year for what our average
well,
delinquencies
I
have
mean,
been.
usually like last year when they sent out the letters and everything else, the notices, she's also sending first class and also first class mail too. But usually we get, I think 60-80% of them come in and pay, at least for
When they,
2023.
to get caught up,
Well, for the 1
Yeah,
year,
for 1
or
year.
all 3
to
years.
keep them out of.
Right,
Out of
out of
harm.
lean.
So one of the benchmarks you'll find in your audit is deferred revenue. So when you go back and you look at things, and deferred revenue doesn't have to be just property taxes, but most of the time, it's all of it or the bulk of it.
Yeah, I would say
So-
90 plus, 95%.
So, yeah, unless there are things that can get in, we've had some years where there's some substantial money goes in there. But they give they spell it out in the parts with words on it, and then you can tell, and then you can break it out. But point being, as of March 1st, that's when you wanna get your report for, the properties report for what's outstanding. Because on the date of March 1st, you're typically at that 60-day mark. And anything after that day, after the 60 days, is when they lock in the, deferred revenues. So there'll be a day right in there at the 60-point mark, and if you have 500,000, 800,000, that's a deferred revenue. And year over year, that gives some measure of consistency. So if you go in there and you say, this is 600,000 all the time, and you see 800,000 now, you may not lose your mind because all our valuations went up and the numbers are bigger than towns.
There's a combination of that.
Yeah, I know, it's just mostly, it's
But
just,
that's your benchmark.
just looking at, right, we look at trends, but I was actually surprised after the sales of the properties that we were where we were at when I looked at it.
The properties were off the books.
They're off the.
Yeah, well, that was my question, I wanted to make sure they were, because that,
They're off the books.
that number seemed high to me for this time
Once
of
the
the year.
town takes ownership of the property, takes the deed, it no longer accumulates taxes.
Okay.
So that just stops.
Yeah, and the auctioneer, I mean, Sager's the one that handled all
Yeah.
the deed transfers.
Mostly that was just my question for Andrea, but I thought you could answer it if that.
They're back on the tax roll.
Okay,
Yeah,
Those
right,
properties.
there you go.
alright, well, that's good news. Alright,
Can I ask something?
yes,
The library.
what page?
Page 9. Does the library's operating expenses, does that like all, do the trustees handle those funds?
With the library, what they do is, part of the procedures is, I think after 3 months, they get the,
After town meeting.
after town meeting, they get
Yeah,
half, half the operating budget. They receive half. And then I think September, they receive the other half.
Right, but not in
Strange.
salaries.
Huh? Not in salary, we pay the salary.
Only the
Yeah.
operating budget portion that they get half of it up front, basically, and then.
Well, we're in discussions with payroll too, let them handle it.
Okay,
Yeah, the biggest rub on that in the past was if for accounting purposes, for putting all the taxes in the right buckets, if they screw up, then eventually you, the selectmen, have to bail them out. So that was one of that's why I didn't do it way back when, cause I toyed with that too, and I just wasn't too sure about, the library wasn't doing well with numbers back then, and the office was doing better. But
that's unique. I mean, I guess while we're on that page,
Oh.
well, you'll have to keep some wiggle room for general assistance if it keeps up at this
Yeah,
rate.
yeah, we have a new, person for welfare,
Yeah,
forgot his name, but,
I mean, it is what it is, just,
yeah, we had a discussion the other night about certain case and stuff, so we're working, we're on top of it, we
if you
understand.
give it to everybody who comes in the door without verifying they qualify, you get yourself in trouble. So sometimes it's actually doing some homework to control some of that. And the other thing is, that's an item that if you blow your budget,
right, that's why
you
I'm
don't get in
saying,
trouble for it.
Like legal.
yeah, but you
welfare.
gotta make it up somewhere.
Right.
So,
Well, you just have to have money in the bank to pay for it, but you don't bust out for your operating budget. And the selectmen can't get brought in front of.
Yeah, so you know, you got an operating budget of 3,000,000.1, you know, if we go 3.150, then yeah, if it gets to the welfare.
So we have somebody in that role now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's full, yeah, it's pretty knowledgeable in everything else, and the biggest issue we have, we don't have a welfare policy. So we're getting one developed,
Okay,
so we have everything in place, what's required, what's, documents are required, all that stuff. Right now, in the past, it's like, oh, I don't know, you know, it's like,
You're not holding clothes over top of the, little fire station anymore, though.
no. No. So we're working on that.
okay.
But we're also working on the, Elena, I got your drift on it, so I know where you're going with this.
Do you have more?
I could find more, but no, those are the two big
Alright,
things.
I'm sure we all could, but just send it to me in an email. If there's something you need addressed.
So
Yes, Mike.
I was gonna say, just going into this budget cycle, last year we got hit with 97 cents from the school. I did talk to a representative, over at the school before we got to town meeting and such, and discussed the medical situation there, the insurance, because that was a big thing.
Yeah, similar to Conway and all that, yeah.
Yeah.
Insurance.
So that, well, there's two types of pools, one like we engage in, with,
Primex.
so that's one of those ones where you kind of pay up front and they can't come back at you. The other one is the one where they can come back and retroactively and say, gee, we didn't calculate the numbers right, basically, and your expenses have gone up. So at that point in time, they hadn't figured out which way they were going to go and what the numbers would come in at. So I think you probably pay a higher premium going in when they're gonna say we don't come back at you. But either way, everything's going up and there's bills in Concord on this that are kinda getting kicked around where it's gonna go. But my understanding was that in all likelihood, we will probably see an increase. They can't say because things haven't been negotiated, and because they have a contract with their employees for an extended period of time, they can't turn around and say, hey, you know, when we used to pay 100% of your healthcare, well, now it's gonna be 75 and drop the bill. They're locked into whatever that is.
Right, with the Yogi contract, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got collective
Which was
bargaining.
approved.
So I would just caution that, I don't think the school's done with us for this year.
I appreciate that.
Just something that, you know.
They give you an estimate, what was the estimate for?
They didn't have an estimate because they were in talks and something could happen. That was probably a little more than a month ago. You know, say it was 6 weeks ago, so a lot of things could have changed. But Brody Duchesne was the one I talked to, and
Yeah.
he spent a good amount of time explaining it. He was very well versed on it, so
Yeah, we had him in here a couple times.
I'm sure you did.
I can tell you as somebody who's, well versed in health insurance, that it's going up and it's
Not
not
getting
going up
cheaper.
little amounts.
Well, and that's kind of my,
You said it's not going up in little amount?
It's not going up in little amounts.
but all the hospitals have gotten the crunch. There's cutbacks, funding, everything's just, so I'm just throwing it out there that, you know, it wouldn't surprise me at all to get hit with another dollar at the school level coming up, but I didn't really wanna say a number, so, it could be big.
And the county might go up too with all the big raises they got.
What's that?
The county.
Ah, this is.
Oh.
Yeah, alright, now you push my button, I'm going.
The good news is I still have another kidney to sell.
You're not gonna be able to afford the dialysis.
At that point, it'll just be, here, take it.
There's a liquor store down the road.
Exactly. Alright, we don't have any public to comment. And anybody got any other business they wanna bring up? Any questions from Craig or Eric or? I don't, like I said, as we get into it more, it'll start making sense, but it does take a little while to wrap your head around it, but don't be afraid to ask any questions. Elena was really shy last year, and now look at her.
I'm not sure if you mean that or not.
No, you were really shy to start, and then you came out of your shell. and then
Reserved.
We regretted it.
Reserved is the better
Reserved,
word.
I'm sorry, she was
I'm not
reserved,
shy.
she was reserved last year, so don't be reserved, or shy, or like Mike, find a happy medium. Lastly,
I'm coming for your next meeting, I'm just gonna let you know now.
that's all right, brother, I'm ready for you. So, I was thinking June 30th or June 16th for the next meeting, if you guys feel like we need to have one before that. There's really not a lot happening, I'll send out the B to As and the sub-account data, the beginning of May. So I'll leave it up to the committee, if you wanna have a meeting before June, the end of June, we can, if not.
It's not a selectmen's meeting that day.
No, I got you guys marked on my, my
Right.
calendar, so I know when those Tuesdays are free. So if those dates were for you on the 30th, we would have, almost I'd have 2 full quarters worth of data for you, or pretty close to it. If you wanna do the 30th. So what do you guys think? I don't have a life, so I'm flexible.
I'm in the same boat.
Alright, that's too flexible, I know we can talk to Eric's handler, see if he's available.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Either.
Craig, that work for you, either 16th or 30th, do you have a preference?
Either one. I'll go 16.
So 16?
Yeah, cause the 30th is getting right up close to July and people tend to make plans.
Again, I don't have a life, Jim
Yeah.
doesn't have a life.
July 4th's right down the road.
Fourth is on a Saturday.
It is,
People in
Somebody's
your
got plans.
family have lives and then they start making you go attend things.
you make it sound like I do. Alright,
So 16?
June 16th,
I heard you got like 18 kids.
11,
Yeah,
What?
close enough.
Yeah.
With grandchildren or something?
no, the grandchildren number's higher than that,
You have 11 children?
yes.
Nice.
And that doesn't even count his time in college when he was a sperm donor.
I was gonna
Really
say,
don't know what's-
I'll share the details of that after we adjourn the meeting.
I'll stay with 2.
Yeah, I agree.
Alright, then, that being said, if there's no other business, I make a motion to adjourn at 6:51.
I'll second that.
Second by Jim. And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You can walk up.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.